I'm here today with Fatima and Gabi Love, the most perfect last name in the world. I'm going to introduce them in a second, but just as a reminder, I'm Mina Sanchez. I'm a certified coach with Twin Flames Universe, and this is the first edition of my podcast by Twin Flames Podcast, the edition in English. So I feel super honored and blessed to have these two with me. By the way, I really want to get into this in a minute with them, but I just want to highlight that we actually met for the first time in Oceana's and Charles' wedding in Sedona, which was basically one of the most, I guess, unforgettable, memorable moments of my life. It really was. It was like the most magical moments. We got the chance to really meet Jeff and Shalia in person and the whole community. And I'm gonna hear from them in a second. But for me, it was just so amazing because, technically we were going to this wedding where we didn't necessarily know anybody, not even, the groom and the bride. But I've never, ever, ever felt so at home as I did at that event. So before anything else, I just want to give the room to Fatima and Gabi to just introduce themselves. Fatima, let us know your name, who you are, how did you get to the community, and if you want to go ahead and share also how was the experience of the wedding for you, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Fatima. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I was born because my mom birthed me, and now here I am today. No, I'm just kidding. I started the twin flame journey about, what was it? Maybe 2 years ago now when I met my twin, and they just try to run away. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to find the answer. So I get on Google, I find Jeff and Shalia on YouTube, and I honestly didn't even know who they were. I just felt a lot of peace, and I was like, looks like they have the answer. I heard they had a school, so I just signed up. Because I was like, there's no way I'm like going back and forth with you for years. So that's how my journey with them started. And then it just grew in the community, learning about ascension coaching, going deeper into learning about twin flames. So now I'm a volunteer. Hopefully one day I get to be a coach, just like Mina. It is my goal and dream. And but I love the community. So meeting in Sedona, like Mina said, I didn't really know anybody, but you don't really know someone you can know someone by their energy and how they felt. And so it felt like really family like, and I don't know, just meeting someone and having that instant connection of love and like that commonality. It was a very peaceful, beautiful experience. Like Mina said, being at a twin flame wedding is just, it's such a high vibration because you're in the energy of unconditional love. It was really one of the most amazing moments for me as well. So that's how I got introduced in the community, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Fatima. I didn't realize. So you've been with the community for 2 years, and a year ago you went to Sedona. So you weren't really around for way much longer before that. That's exciting because I remember feeling like, I don't know, you were like, I don't know, it was like an OG somehow because I was like, wow, she feels like, I don't know. Remember your energy was very I don't know, like magnetic for me. And I felt like I thought that you had been with the community for way longer than that. But I guess you have. You just awakened to the
right. Energetically, I've been here since birth. Yeah, no, everyone thought that about me. I met my twin in January, and I found Jeff and Shalia in February. So I moved quick, and then I just started loving everybody. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. And speaking about love, we have Gabi. Gabi, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you and how you got here, and also your experience with the wedding, because I remember that you were very happy as well.
So I joined the community back in 2019. And I actually had a really close friend who had read Jeff and Shalia's book and had like recommended it to me. And I was like, yeah. I dropped it on my reading list. I'm like, I'll get to it. Like, everything's good. It's fine. And it was probably like, that happened in like 2017, 2018. So it was like a full year at least later that I actually was like, oh yeah, I have this book that I haven't read yet.
Oh, wow.
So I cracked open that bad boy and had like a full-blown like identity crisis, dark night of the everything.
Yes. Yes.
Like, my whole life has been a lie. Like, this is some bullshit.
That's so true. Like, that's one of the things that I was telling the guys the other day in the other podcast. For me, I realized that at some point, not at, well, in many points, but there were a point in time in my journey that I was like, everything, literally everything that I thought was real is an illusion. And everything that I thought was an illusion, like a crazy dream, is actually true, which is like this, like big desire to be with my ultimate lover and like God and all of that. So yeah, it really breaks you at some point.
Absolutely. So that was the point for me. So I read the book and then I joined Twin Flames Universe Open Forum on Facebook. And I met Julia. She was my first like introduction into the Twin Flames everything. And like Ascension coaching, I had no concept. So I showed up like so green, like I don't even know what's about to happen. And then proceeded to spend the next full hour just sobbing uncontrollably because I was just like, this is a lot. This is so much. And there's so much to sort through here. I was like, brand new mom. I had a little bitty baby at home who had all kinds of like medical stuff going on because he was a preemie and all of the things. And I was working full time and just like so overwhelmed and like all the things. And I was like, I just want my life partner. This is insane. So that was kind of my introduction into the community. And that like initial introduction sent me into some real crazy upheaval where I was just like feeling all of the feelings that I had been kind of like swiping left on for the whole time before that. Yeah. And so that was a lot. And like that was probably like winter time or early spring. And then I ended up joining the school kind of that fall. So then I started getting like really deep into all of the things, and I was in the community for probably about a year before I was like, Ascension coaching is the shit. Like, that's what I want to fucking do with my life. So I am a certified Ascension coach now.
Yay.
And it's been like such a healing experience. I think like I came to the community like I need help from my partner, like my non-existent partner. Like I just need my partner because I can't do all of these things by myself. But what I learned is like I actually have to learn like who I am as a person and love that person. So like I got way more than I fucking bargained for, like coming into the community, and like everything that I thought I needed and wanted, like was out the window at some point. I was just like along for the ride. Like, I don't even know where we're going, but this shit is awesome. Like, sign me up. So yeah, at the wedding in Sedona last year, it was the first time, like, obviously you get to know people like through the community, through this online presence, through coaching, through all of the things, but obviously we'd never been in each other's physical space before. So that was wild for me because like I had people coming up to me like, wow, you are so tiny. Like, I do have a bigger personality, I guess. And since they'd only ever seen me on a screen, they saw me in person and they were like, wow, you are real small. But yeah, it was basically like meeting, it felt like meeting celebrities, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it did.
It did. And so like the whole experience, like from the moment I bought the ticket to go to Sedona, like the healing had already started. Like the moment I made that choice, it was just like, well, you're going to have to heal this and this and this and this and this if you want to be in that vibration. So it was just this transformative experience for me. And showing up in Sedona, like that first day felt like super heavy because I was confronted with like, here's all the ego bullshit you brought with you.
I got chills all over because I remember we all left the first day of the event like feeling in a way very relieved, but on the other hand, we were like exhausted, like feeling miserable because everybody was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it felt like like super heavy compressed pressure that first day, because it was like, you can't bring this shit with you. Like, if you're going to be part of this experience, all of it's got to go. So like, it was such kind of a transformative, like that first night, I was just like healing through all of these like things and blocks. And I'd been healing that whole day. So I was in like massive upheaval pretty much the first whole day, as I was like meeting people and being like, oh, hey, oh, hey. I was just like, whew. And it felt like things were moving pretty quickly too, as well, like there, because we were having, like, I pretty much got there like right after the first workshop started, because traffic was so crazy, like getting from the airport to Sedona, like, and so it was like go, go, go from like the jump. So it was super, like, I felt like I healed more in those like couple of days that we were there than I had like cumulatively like before that at all in my life. But it was so good because it was like this beautiful like purification, to the point where like by the time like our time together culminated in Charles and Oceana's wedding, everybody was just in this beautiful, like blissful, familial, like, we are all here as one heart together. And that felt so powerful, to just be there with like all of your brothers and sisters, you know, and our gurus, and like twin flame wedding and all of these like harmonious union couples like surrounding you. It's just such an enriching experience that like doesn't exist anywhere else. Like, it's only here. Like, it's the heart of who we are as a community, and to be able to experience that physically was a completely different experience.
Yeah, for me, I remember exactly. I mean, you were talking, and I was like having chills all over again, because that's exactly, you described it very well. I feel like there was a huge sense of belonging in a very deep, 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 deep way. It's like, I know, looking around, I remember looking around at some point in the wedding and seeing, you know, not only the bride and the groom being twin flames and celebrating the harmonious union, but everybody around kind of like identifying themselves as a twin flame and being aware and awakened to that, like that vibration. It's like, it's just amazing. And I just kept thinking about, I remember when I got back home, I was like, obviously it was a bittersweet, because I feel like it brought in every single one of us that desire to, why is it not always like this? You know what I mean? Because if you think about it, everybody has a twin flame. Obviously, not everybody out there is aware of what a twin flame is. And even me, like since then, I remember that, and I even did a post on that recently, that I'm realizing now, because for the longest time I was focused, or maybe understanding the twin flame journey from the lover part, you know, the romantic partner side of it, but then realizing it much deeper now, like a year or so later, that this is all about loving God, loving life, and everything around you being perfect and getting better every minute. So I'm like, when can we have this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When can we have this all over everywhere, right? Fatima, how was it for you? I'll never forget to the hug that we did in the dance floor.
Yeah, that was literally life-changing, because like you said, I was brand new to the community, and I just have this personality where I guess we're friends now. And so like, I didn't know anyone. I watched a couple of classes. I was in coaching and stuff, but you know, I don't know. I just make friends instantly. But I remember I was super triggered because I never like been around twin flame, and to be around it's a very high vibration that you have to attain to be able to be around your mirror. So all these people around their twin flames and things like that. I remember when we were taking a group photo and I'm standing behind Shalia, and you have to imagine Jeff and Shalia are like gods to me at this point, because they're so like nice. You can see the love in their eyes, and I'm like, oh my God, God really sent them. And so I'm standing behind them taking the photo, and we're taking a silly one. And so so I do like this behind Shalia's back, and Jeff, he moves my hand. He's like, no, that's my job. And I was like, he hates me. And all these father wounds came up. I was like, I'm not good enough. I can't do anything right. I'm like, I'm so triggered. And Jeff has no idea. I'm like, I'm not saying anything for the rest of the trip. And so, yeah, that was my first introduction to being like super triggered, but I worked through that. And after that, yeah, like Gabi said, just being immersed in the classes and what they were teaching us, really by that third day at the wedding when we all got together, and especially when we had that big, like, it felt like a roar in my heart, but I think we were just like, I don't know, what were we doing? I don't know, yelling like family or something like that. Yeah,
totally.
it was so life-changing. I was like, what you were just saying, like, this is how life is supposed to be. Everyone with their divine counterpart and loving life, loving God, being in peace and harmony. So yeah, it was triggering, but after
I was gonna take that to the twin flame because, well, by the way, before we go there, just so everybody knows, everybody who's watching, you can buy the Romance in Sedona workshop in the Twin Flames Universe page. You can get I mean, it's so hard to describe, to put it in words, like you have to watch it. So really go into the Twin Flames Universe and check it out.com and check it out, buy it, watch it. The main message that we all learned there, just to give everybody just a piece of information, is you get to understand what it means when we say I am divine. You really recognize what it means to say that you're divine in a much deeper level. I feel like that's one thing that stayed with all of us. But I wanted to just go with what you're saying, Fatima, is because it was kind of like being around, all these twin flames and harmonious unions, and Jeff and Shalia, our gurus. It really is kind of like I guess it's almost like it reminds you or even prepares you, because I feel like that's what it was for me, to you for you to really go deeper in claiming your harmonious twin flame meaning. Because for like, as we know, being close to your twin flame or even connecting to your twin flame can be triggering because they're your mirror. So tell us about that, Fatima, a little bit.
How much time do we have? All my twin does is trigger me. I think that's his favorite job. I used to, when I first got to the community, I was so upset at the triggering because I don't know. I really came here for my twin, and then I found out it was about like getting close to God and stuff. And I was like, yeah, don't want to fucking do that. I had a lot of like religious upsets and stuff like that. So I was like, no, I just want to be with my twin. So at the time, he was triggering me so much because I didn't want to love myself. I just, like what Gabi was talking about, I just wanted my man to love me. I was coming out of that soulmate kind of thing. I wasn't getting it. I was like, this is my twin. He's supposed to be loving me. Why do I have to love myself when he can just do it for me? So trying to get that love from him when I didn't love myself, what could he mirror back? Just not interested. I don't want to be around you. I was like, I'm going to die of rejection. I was like, I've never been rejected so much in my whole life. And then I tried to do the soulmate thing. I was like, okay, maybe if I'm sexy. He didn't even care. I was like, nothing is working. I was like, so thank God eventually we had a little, it's never a block, but it was just more compassionate to heal without like talking and things like that. And it really showed me how much, I don't know, it's so different from soulmates, where you find someone else to love you when you don't know how to love yourself, to be there for you. And so once my twin like left out of my reality, I just, everyone starts falling out of your reality, like friends, family. So I'm like, this is my first time by myself. And that's when I really had to get to know myself again. Who was Fatima outside of who I was trying to be a mom or like to please my other partners in the past? So all of these patterns came up where I was like codependent, or I wasn't really being myself because I was scared to. So as you go deeper into being yourself and claiming your authentic self, the triggering isn't so, because then they're not going to trigger like self-hate back to you. Like, I hate you. So it actually becomes a gift now, because I'm like, oh, I'm giving myself so much love. And then my twin just mirrors that. So yeah, Jeff and Shlia are a godsend, because that's something you don't understand, even in the twin flame world out on YouTube and things like that. They're really like, you know, obsess over your twin and try to get him to like you. And once you realize like you and your twin are just one at the core, so it really is about you coming into union with yourself, then the triggering is, it's not that, but it's actually kind of like a gift now, because it's like, oh, he's showing me where can I heal and go deeper into loving and being with myself. So now
I
I'm
love
kind of
that.
okay with it. But at first I was like,
I
I
love
haven't been
that.
rejected in years. I'm like, why is he doing this?
Yeah, I feel like I like what Gabi was saying earlier, that everything you swipe left, all the feelings that you didn't want to see, like your whole life apparently, or even like past lives, if you know, they just show up after you awaken. So that's so funny. Yeah, you know, I was working with one of my clients the other day, and she was telling me, why do I get that, like this trigger? Kind of like I love them, I hate them, but they treat
Yeah.
me so badly. I want to run, and like we were working together, so we came into this kind of like trick, you know, consciousness trick, that we swapped the word trigger for activation, because ultimately that's what it is. It's almost like it's a door that you had like locked out, like away in your consciousness, that you were like, no, I'm not going there. And then what your twin flame does, no, here, go here. So it's
Yeah.
basically, and she was like, oh my god, this is amazing. It helped me too, because obviously we all get triggered by our twin flames, them being close or not, you knowing who they are or not, that doesn't matter. That's, I guess, what they do. The first thing that they are for us is a teacher and a guru. So yeah, for me that was very helpful, because it's like, wait, they are basically, I can see now it from a different perspective, what it's like, okay, they're showing me the door to more love, and not just, you know, rubbing my face all the horrible things that there are in me. You know what I mean? It's a big perspective shift. Gabi, tell us about you and the triggers experience, or activations. We'll call it activations.
I love that reframe. That's perfect. I'm gonna use that forever now. Love, love, love. No, I was gonna say, like, one of the reasons that everybody was like, oh, Fatima's been here forever, is because she was such a tour guide. Like the whole time she was just like owning it. She's like going live, like giving tours of the venue. And then like we get there, she's like, it's your turn for a photo. She's just like directing traffic. So we were all like, she's in charge. Like, all right, Fatima. But yeah, like with the triggers and all of the things, like very similar to Fatima, like I had a huge like religion upset, God upset coming into the community. Like I had been in like a really abusive narcissistic relationship for almost 10 years, like, and had just like kind of come to terms with that aspect of my reality. And then like when I first saw Jeff and Shalia, when I joined the community, because obviously like I hadn't seen them when I read the book. Like the old version of the book didn't have like their photo on the cover. So the first time I saw Jeff, like he looked just like my like narcissistic partner, like same mannerisms, same like, and I was like, I can't, like this can't be a thing. Like no, can't do that. So there was like a lot of healing just in that for me, of that triggering, like before I even like false twinned with my life, like just me and Jeff had to come to like a place of peace before like I could even move forward into exploring a false twin at that point. So like that was a wild time for me, and so healing, which obviously like healing my God upset is huge. Like so many people come into the community with that upset of just whether it, you know, is religious based or like their biological father based or like stepdad, man in their life situation. Like so many people arrive with that pain, with that wound, you know what I mean? And like healing that wound is intense. It's really intense. You have to like be tenacious to make it through like to the next level of healing from there. And that takes some people a really long time. Like it took me almost a full year just to work through that before there was any twin flame anything happening in my life. And so, yeah, after that, like my first twin flame experience, like post healing kind of in that area was just like, okay, here is the time where you're going to heal all your trauma. I was like, what the actual, what's happening right now? For love, what is
Yeah, exactly.
And that was like another super transformative experience where I was like, I just made it through all of this. So like I went through like mind alignment process, which was just the best fucking thing I've ever done in my entire life. Like I've been to pretty much every kind of therapy that exists in reality, like all of them. Right? I would like to say that I like failed out of every therapy because I was just like, it's not working. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, it would get better for a while and then it would just get worse again because I wasn't actually like healing all the way to the core, to the root of what hurt me. Right.
Yeah, just a correction here. You didn't fail. They failed healing you. You just, that's part of your exploration. You tried everything that you could. And I feel like the twin flame journey is all about that. Like,
absolutely,
you only not succeed if you give up. In this case, you were doing the right thing, but with the wrong tools. So it didn't work. So you had to move forward.
Yeah, exactly. But it was almost like every time I tried to heal it and I couldn't, I got more discouraged. Yeah. So even to like work up the nerve to try something again was a very healing experience for me because I was like, I've tried everything. What could possibly be different? Right? Just like in my little victim consciousness.
Yeah, we've been there too. I know the feeling.
Yeah. And it was like one thing after another. And finally I was just like, fuck it. Like, I might as well try this. Like I've tried everything else. Like maybe this, which like hands down, best decision I've ever made. Like best investment I've ever made in myself. Like joining Twin Flame Ascension School and going through MAP, 100%. And like to Fatima's point with the whole like, why don't me? Like I was very much in that place. And it was honestly like the romance attraction course, like watching that course through the first time was the most triggering. It was the most triggering experience that I've had. Like twin flame, what? Like romance attraction triggered me way more than like what I was experiencing in my reality because it was the first time in my life that I had to look at myself in the mirror and admit that I fucking hated myself.
Right.
Like self-loathing, all of it. Like I had never like actually admitted that to myself. And going through like that e-course, I was just like, oh, I see the problem. I see what I did there. And like that was such a healing experience to be able to like develop a foundation of love in my life because that's not something that existed before. Like it didn't. It absolutely didn't. And so like that was kind of the beginning of that little like seed in me of what actually is love. What is it? What does it look like? What does it feel like? Right? I didn't have that before. And that like planted that seed in me or helped me realize that that seed was in me, right? Which is probably more accurate. But like from that point, it was able to grow to the point that I was even able to attend like the Romance and Sedona workshop. You know what I mean? Like had I not like been in that place growing that love, like I don't think that would have been possible for me, right? That would have been like a really, really, really intense ego death.
Yeah, because that's a good point that you're bringing here is people think that they're looking for love, as Fatima was saying, that they're looking for someone to love you and all that. But the truth is, we don't realize, but we think we want that. But when we get love, we run because we don't have it in us. So we can't accept it, literally. You just can't. You don't have it's almost like if you're, or conscious, there's a software, you don't have that program. Like you really don't.
Yeah.
You don't. It triggers you, so you run from
you
it.
don't.
Right.
Well, and that's evident in like the pattern where like, you're not attracted to like the nice guy or whatever, right? Like somebody's trying to love you and you're like, yeah, not interested. I want this like bad boy, this asshole over here. Like I want their attention, right?
Yeah.
That's that pattern where like that love doesn't exist in you. So for somebody else to give it to you, you're like, no.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right in a way. So
right. And you're like, no, like not interested, right? But once you start healing that, like you recognize the difference between love and not love, right? You gain that discernment where it now becomes really clear that like, oh, I ain't trying to love you. Was never trying to love you.
He's trying to get something. But yeah, what Gabi was saying, I was just so confused when I started my journey because I was like, I do love myself, because I've been on self-love for many, many years. But what I thought self-love was back then is I grew up and I wasn't like the pretty girl. So I spent a lot of my adulthood like, well, if I'm just attractive, I'll never be rejected. So I got attractive. I realized guys like my body. So I was like half naked all of the time. So I was like, no one's going to reject me. I got all these likes on Tinder and I was like, I'm that bitch. Like, everyone likes me. I'll never get rejected. And then here comes my twin and none of it is working on him. I'm like, what the hell? And so I was like, why is he loving me? And so then I was like, oh, I just had to be better looking and da 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 da. Until I realized, what Gabi said is I realized, oh, I didn't actually love myself. I put on this facade to try to be good enough, but that was still clamoring for someone else's attention. Like if a man just told me I was good enough or pretty enough, then I felt good, but I really didn't like myself at a core level for who I am without like me giving to someone or just like exploding sexual energy everywhere. So I had to learn what it was actually like to love and respect myself and not just like what I was doing, which was really just the masking that I didn't like myself and I felt inadequate. So that
I love that.
Yeah.
Because that's literally what I've been healing the last 2 or 3 weeks. It hit me because obviously it's this process. I think it's worth saying that it comes in layers too. It's not like one day you press a button, oh, I know what love is, I'm fine. That's not how it goes. There's kind of like layers to it. And for me, I was kind of like investigating a little bit deeper. What is my core block? Because there's that core block and that everything else stems from it. And I was thinking back in my younger years, like I basically grew up my whole life not liking myself like physically, or I call it an image disorder. It's kind of like I created that label. I don't know if technically that's what it is, but I knew deep down inside I didn't like what I was seeing. And I knew for a fact that people were seeing something different than I was seeing. So I couldn't trust not even in my feelings about me or what I was seeing. So I was like, I realized today, and that's also related to because I had a trauma, like I had an accident when I was very young. And I basically got out of my body. I had to get out of my physical body to survive that moment. And I feel like that's where I was, the rest of my life, kind of like being somewhere out there instead of like feeling my feelings. So the MAP, I also did MAP, and again, life changer for anybody who's working through trauma. And don't think about trauma just like accidents and horrible things. Everybody has some sort of like trauma. So if you see that something is repeating time and time again and you really cannot look at it or you cannot heal it, MAP can be an amazing opportunity for you. So just check it out. But for me, it was funny because it was literally last weekend that I was like, wait, and I just did the Romance Attraction course recently too, because I was like, if I want harmonious inflow meaning, I have to love myself deeply. And I realized that for me, I was masking because I was always very compassionate, always very loving. It was very easy for me to love everyone and be nice. But I didn't realize how much that was actually covering for how much I didn't like myself. And it was beyond, because I treated the whole self-image thing, I made peace with that. But then as I kept going deeper, I realized that I didn't like my company in a way. So it was like, I was literally wearing makeup or, dressing up to feel better by myself, but I wasn't really going deep into the pain, into the hurt to actually heal it. So this weekend I was like, you know what? It's just gonna be me, myself, and my pizza.
Oh,
I didn't dress up. I was wearing like a large loose t-shirt, and it was the first time that I felt, obviously, again, it was layers, but it was the first time that I was like, wait, I'm not doing, like, it was a Saturday night. I'm not doing anything. I'm at home playing some music. I was doing some volunteer work for Church of Union, and just like totally like raw, like completely raw and vulnerable. And I was like, wait, even those things that I don't like about myself, I choose to love them, because that's the parts of me that I needed the most. So I love this whole conversation because it's been a big journey for me too. You guys resonate with that, the present piece, right? Like being present, because a lot of the times we don't give ourselves attention. And I always joke that my mom, like when we grew up, we come from a family where you're sad or something, and my family would be like, "Oh, take a shower and you feel better."
yeah.
And I would take showers and showers and showers and didn't feel better. So that ended up like creating, this idea that I was broken because I'm taking showers and I'm not feeling better. So you know what I mean? Sometimes like a small thing like that, kind of like the way that you record that information becomes some sort of like block that when you are in a twin flame journey, you can't really avoid it. You have to look at all those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And going deeper into loving ourselves, that concept was so foreign. Like I was so pissed for so many months. I was like, I don't want to fucking love myself. I'm like, I want someone else to do it. And so just going deeper into when I started loving myself, like you were saying, you want someone to like even the bad parts of you, the parts that you don't like you unconditionally. And then I had this moment and I was like, how could I expect someone else to do that for me when I'm with myself 24/7 and I don't even do that for myself? And I was just like, why do we look for other people to love us for us? Like that is so not only hard, but impossible in a way, because we're the only one who knows ourselves like that intimately. So it really is this self-love that we're cultivating within ourselves first that gets reflected on the outside. I thought that was so like, whoa, because I was like, I don't want my own love. I want my twins. And then my twin would come around and love me and I'd be like, he's not doing it the right way. Like, and so it's like, yeah, I didn't actually really want that. I wanted love. And I'm like, oh, I can meet this desire in myself. So yeah, I love that.
That's so true. And I think the other side of that coin is you cannot, because we're all like, we're walking around, I want my twin flame, I want my twin flame, I want this guy, I want the perfect husband, whatever. But you also cannot give it to them if you don't give it to yourself. And we forget about that. That's key, isn't it?
Yeah, because I thought I was loving my twin, because it's just like you were saying, I did not love myself and I never wanted anyone to experience non-love. So I compensated for that by just loving everyone. But I secretly just was giving away the love I really wanted someone to give to me. And so I thought I was loving my twin by being like, we have to be together because we're meant to be together and da 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 da. But that's not really love. That's like control. He has his own like journey to walk and things like that. So I really learned how to actually love someone, and you can only do that when you don't need anything from them. So I was like, whoa, okay, learning new things over here. So yeah, I was like, yeah, I wasn't able to really give him love without needing something, and there was like something else. I was like, yeah, but give me something, come be with me. Like, so yeah, so coming into this vibration of unconditional love, which we've been talking about, it's so divine. And I first had that experience when I had an upset with someone in the community. I think it was Danny. Anyways, they were super cool about it, but they were talking about God. And so I was super triggered. So I was like, I'm about to cuss her out. I didn't know why, but now I know it's because like I had this God upset. And so before, in the past, my family, if I've ever done anything wrong, they would hold it against me for like years. They'd be like, okay, there's Fatima, but she's mean, da 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 da. And so when I had that upset with Danny, and I came back months later because I was like, I had blocked her and everything. I was like, Danny, I'm so sorry. I was going through an upset. She was like, oh, it was hard for me too, but it's okay. I healed it within myself. And I was like, oh my God, this was like the first time I was like loved unconditionally. I was like, she doesn't need me to tell her sorry or to like her or to even apologize to her. She like resolved that within herself so she can just show up and love people. I was like, that's what I want. And so it really like shifted a lot of things for me. So yeah.
Oh, that's very normal. Gabi, have you had any experience with being triggered by anyone in the community?
Oh, yeah.
We all have.
Yeah. Lots of times. But I was just going to add to that, like the visual that was coming into my mind, kind of as Fatima was talking, is about like thinking about like all of the metaphors about like a bird being in a cage, right? And that is essentially like what we're doing to our twin when we are putting all of our expectations on them for how they should be loving us, how they should be showing up for us, like all of that stuff. And the act of doing all of those things for ourselves literally like sets them free to love us unconditionally. So you are like, when you think about unconditional love and like how you desire to love your twin, like the best way you could possibly love them is by setting them free, right?
Yeah.
And so like coming into that realization of like being able to love yourself and choosing to love yourself and choosing to like invest in yourself and your self-love and raising your vibration to that of unconditional love, like sets both of you free to just be able to experience each other and experience like that unconditional love and bliss and commitment and all of those things. Like you won't be able to do that as long as you're both like that freaking like what is it, the Spider-Man meme where they're like all pointing to each other, like that's how it is. Like as long as you're like caught in that feedback loop, unconditional love's not happening, right? You have to like get to that point where you're like, oh, it's me. It's always me, right?
That's so true, because if you think about it and you turn that around, you'd be like, I don't want to feel like I'm caged. I don't want to feel like I'm being loved with conditions. You know, like as you were saying, like if I can love myself when I'm waking up in the morning or when I have like a pimp or something, you know what I mean? Like how can I expect someone to do that, or vice versa? And I feel like for me, the one big thing that I feel like even like as a kid, because I remember dreaming about the ultimate lover like since forever, like seriously. I mean, since I was probably 2-3 years old. You know, I that's always been a thing for me, super romantic and stuff. But I remember that for me, it was about this idea of love, the love that is here to stay. You know what I mean? That's not gonna run away when it gets hard. It's not gonna run away when you're not looking amazing. You know what I mean? And then when I think about it, it's like, wow, all this time I was looking for that, but I was actually wanting that for myself, and I wasn't doing it because I was again in this, and I'm a Virgo too, so I have this serving energy, you know, like I'm always like, what else? Who else can I help? What else? You know, who else can I love? What else can I do for you? And you know, even in my last job before the Ascension coaching, I remember realizing one day that I was like, the one question that I would ask the most to everybody was like, what let me know if there's anything else that I can do to help you. Like what the hell, you know what I mean? Like I was pouring myself out, and it's fine if you're doing it unconditionally, yes, but before you have to do it to yourself. I didn't realize that it was almost like an addiction, you know what I mean? Because it is and my brother was the one that told me, he was like, if you love giving so much because you know you love loving, it's amazing, but it's actually selfish if all you do is loving other people and you're not giving them the space to love you back, because you feel so good about loving that you're always giving and giving and giving. But what about the relationship, right? And I was like, mind blown.
Yeah, I had to heal through that because I'm a big lover. So I'm just like, I love everybody. And then I had to realize like I would be upset when people weren't loving me back. So I was like, what Mina was just saying, oh, that's not unconditional love. That was me like loving them, which is great, but I was secretly hoping like, oh, and then one day they'll show up for me and then they'll love me back. And that was a huge thing I learned, learning unconditional love with my twin, because they talk about like, they had asked this question one time, like, would you love your twin if they were with someone else? And I was like, hell no, like you choosing someone else? I was like, no, like, why would I like someone? Why'd I even like someone? So how could I love you? And they're like, then you're not really loving your twin. You're expecting something. And so I was at Matt one day with my coach Larentu, who's amazing. And so we were talking about this, and I was like, no, I'm like probably not going to love my twin if he does that. And he was like, oh, well, then that's not unconditional love. And I was like, well, why would I love someone if they're not giving back to me? And he's like, because it's unconditional. He's like, you fill yourself up, and so that way you don't need things from other people. I was like, oh, then why are we doing it the other way? And he's like, you were taught to love with conditions. I was like, because I was like, no, there's no way I would love someone if they're choosing someone else or they're not giving to me. And I was like, oh, that's not really love, is it? It's me needing something from someone. So I was like, whoa, mind blown.
I worked that through with Lao too. That I didn't realize that in a way, deep down, obviously you don't do that consciously, but once you see it, you're like, okay, now I can't keep doing that anymore. You have to change it, because once you awaken, you see, you can really unsee. But he showed me how, in a way, I was loving people in the way that I was wanting to be loved.
Same.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, same.
So it's not that I was placing conditions, but I was like, okay, I do this because I would like people to do that for me. But then again, it's conditions. Like, hello. So
yeah, I worked through that one with Lau too, because I was like, boundaries, what? Like, but then they'll be so hurt, right? Like, he's like, and what? The alternative is you just leak all of your energy away forever? Like, what's your plan? Like, what's your plan? I was like, wait, but, huh? He's like, are you really loving them if you're teaching them that they never have to love themselves either? Like, and I was like,
I'm about to write that down, actually.
It's like doing something for someone that they can do for themselves, right? Like they teach us that all the time with like parenting, right? They're like, you should never do for your child like what that child can do for themselves, because like you're teaching them not to be independent, like self-sufficient, like think critically, all the things, right? And so like looking at it, I was like, that's what I've been doing. Like, yes, like everyone can love themselves. Like it's their choice and I'm not responsible for their choices, right? So by like constantly like giving them all of that love that they were seeking, I was enabling them to continue abandoning themselves and choosing not to love themselves, which is not actually loving, as it turns out.
In a way, keeping them from learning how to do it on themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have a question, because both of you have kids, right? How has this work changed your relationship with your kids? Because I can imagine it's probably like an amazing, because that's another whole platform that we could do another podcast on.
I'm about to be like, how much time do we have?
We don't have a set time, so feel free to share.
No, so Jeff actually helped me heal a lot around children, because like I said, like my son, like first of all, like it took me forever to get pregnant. Like I tried for years. I lost 5 babies before I had my son. And so like there was just this deep seated fear in me that like he could die at any time. So I was like so stressed out and everything, like the whole pregnancy, just terrified. And then he was like a preemie and like had all of this health stuff going on. So I just had this like constant gripping fear of like losing my child. And so like that affected everything. It affected my relationship with my son. It affected like my relationship in general. Like I felt like I could not be away from him, because if I was, he might die. Like to the point where like I was barely eating. I wasn't sleeping because I was afraid of SIDS. Like he could die in his sleep. Like I was terrified. And I worked through like different things around it and like, you know, the trauma of it. And like it was in a one-on-one with Jeff where he was like, you're going to have to heal this attachment that you have with your son. And I was like, absolutely not. I'm a mom. We are all attached to our children. Like I was on this whole soapbox about it. And I was like, no, make any sense. Why would I surrender my son? Like for what? Like, I'm not going to lose my child. Like, what kind of a mother would I be? It was just like all these things. And Jeff was like, like, and you're going to have to surrender attachment to your son. I was like, but like it literally felt like death. Like that's probably one of the hardest things I've ever healed. Like in the whole journey, healing that was absolutely insane to me. Like it took me deeper into that pain than any loss of relationship I'd ever had. Like nothing rocked me to my core like surrendering my son back to God, right? So like once I moved through that and like the upheaval that followed, like I was able to then come from that place of unconditional love and trusting that God was going to take care of my son no matter what happened, right? And I was able to surrender in a place where I never was able to before. And it changed everything. Like I 100% became a better parent overnight, pretty much, because I was not like anxiety ridden, like helicoptering, like, is he going to choke? Is he going to stop breathing? Is he going to this? Is he going to that? Like all the fucking time, which is, it absorbed all of my attention all the time. Like I had tension in my body that never relaxed ever as a result of just that, like living in that state of fear. And it wasn't until like I was able to heal that, and healing that one thing not only improved my relationship with my son, right? Because now he has like this independence. He's able to have like a meaningful relationship with me that's not just like, please don't die, right?
Yeah.
And it also like impacted all of the relationships in my life, right? Because I had attachment, like I'm a teacher, I had attachment to my students, right? Like I had all of these attachments all over the place in my life. And even like attachment to family members who were just like, you know, choosing not to be in my life or choosing, you know, not to love me. I was able to then heal through all of those pieces. But it took like that relationship with my son for me to arrive at that awareness of, oh shit, that's what this means, right? Like, and so like, and obviously like people who don't have children are able to heal this upset as well. But for me, like, that's what it took. Like that was the trigger that was like the ultimate trigger that led to all of the rest of the healing of relationships in my life, whether it was family or my partner or like whatever, my students, my coworkers. It started with that healing around being a parent and the love that I have for my son, and choosing for that love to be unconditional. Like healing in that place is what allowed me to really fall into unconditional love from that point moving forward.
That's so beautiful, Gabi. And I could say so many things about that, but I feel like there's like major lessons that I take from it. Like I don't even have a son yet or a daughter, but I feel like it's beautiful because first of all, like you, in a way, you were trying to be source to all these people. And I can only imagine how heavy that was because, you know, like you don't only have to protect yourself, you have to protect everybody that you love. So that's a big one. And I feel like in a way, like being able to surrender your son and your relationships to God, you're also able to see yourself as, you know, like a child of God, and really know that you also can surrender yourself and see that you're making your choices, you're living your life, you're here for a reason, you have a purpose, you know, you're eternal being, but you have a father, you have someone looking, you know, after you and taking care of you. So, because I remember one day in my coaching session with Michaela, shout out, she told me, Mina, you have kind of like, because I used to have this superhero syndrome, you know what I mean? I was always trying to save everyone, and I'm like, what are they gonna do without me? Kind of like that.
Me
And she
too.
was like, yeah, and she was like, Mina, let's talk about this. She was like, Mina, you're not anybody's source. You actually have a source, but you're not anybody's source, and you're not your source. She was like, you have a source, and that is God. So it's safe for you to just really surrender to that relationship and depend on it. Because I think that was a big breakthrough in my journey too. Because I was like, no, dependence is bad. You can't depend on anything and blah, blah, blah. That's true for everything else. but it's not true for God. Like you're meant to depend on God and ask him for things and receive things from him and really like receive that support. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's kind of like the big, like one of the big messages that I get from your healing. It's beautiful because yeah, I mean, if you think you're God, that's gonna feel very heavy because you're not. I mean, you are, but you're not the God. You're, you know, piece of it. So yeah,
I just say my earthly body was not prepared for all of that.
no, it's just a lot. Like I can only imagine how like painful, and it's literally physically painful, right? Because I
Literally
remember feeling physical pain.
Yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
manifested like all kind, like I had bones that would just tear out of place, and like it caused all of these issues because of this tension that like I could not release in my body. And it took like that healing and like going through MAP for like those traumas before like that tension in my body started to release and allow like my physical body just to be in alignment.
Mm-hmm. And to be right, because you weren't being who you were either. So that's beautiful. Fatima, how about you? Tell us a little bit.
Oh, well, first of all, that was so healing because I had like no idea I wasn't supposed to be people's sources. I grew up like a missionary, so I was like, it's my job to save everyone. If someone doesn't know about God, it's because of me. So I was like tired all of the time. And I had to heal through that with my kids too, because I grew up extremely codependent. Like I literally had no idea I was allowed to make my own choices. It sounds sad, but like my mom did everything for me. So I was like, oh, I have independent. So I just got married. And, you know, what do you do when you get married? You have kids. But I never really, like, I've always wanted kids, I guess. But, you know, it was a choice I didn't really make for myself. I kind of just fell into it. And me and parenting full time, it's not really a good match. So, so eventually I had to choose myself. And that looks like I live about an hour and a half away from my kids, and I had to move in by myself, learn how to support myself after a divorce. And it was just very polarizing to my family, who was like, oh, there's Fatima abandoning her kids. And I'm like, I'm choosing what's best for me. I had to choose in my heart. So me and my kids have been on this journey of really healing and them showing me what unconditional love is and releasing attachment to them. Like I was like, Gabi, like, how can I release attachment to my kids? Like my coach, he's Madhu, and he was telling me, he's like, are you attached to them? I'm like, they're my kids. Like, yeah, I need to have them around. And I would bring them here, even though like I recently found out I was autistic. So it's just a lot to be in a very like busy space, and kids are only busy. So I would bring them here, even though it would take from me. And he's like, well, why are you doing that? Because you're not loving them and you're not loving yourself either. So I had to give that to myself and surrender the attachment. And then my ex got a new partner, and they have a really good like thing going on there, where I thought like I had to be the mom, and the mom looks like this, where I keep the kids every weekend, even though I was miserable. And when I surrendered that and really chose myself, I just saw like everything work out peacefully. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm not God, because like there's no way I could have made this happen. It's like when you get out the way, then God can like move. And then God really showed me what my role is in my kid's life and how that looks. And I think it's very powerful because I have a non-traditional parenting environment. Like my ex-husband keeps the kids full time, and my mom was like, no man can keep the kids, you're the woman. So I'm just over here like fighting these social norms left and right.
Boundaries.
Right, exactly. And so that's what I learned. And I learned my role in my kids' life. Since I have so much energy, I'm really able to invest in them emotionally. So I can teach them, we like FaceTime and stuff. I teach them boundaries. We like to meditate together. We like to pull cards. And I was like, this is such a cool relationship I'm able to have, because I let go of like what society told me to have. And I really had to honor myself first, because I thought, you know, put your kids first. Hell no, if I want to end up in the mental hospital. And so I had to put myself first. And I realized that honored my kids more, because now I have more energy and actual love to get them, where before I was keeping them like I don't want to do this, but I have to. So, and I know a lot of moms in that position. I'm like, if you just surrender to where God's guiding you, God will literally work out your family dynamics. So that's been so powerful. I was never taught boundaries or to make choices by myself. So to be able, I teach my kids this every day. Like my daughter, she'll be on the phone. She'll be like, no, mom, don't leave. And so now that was like the first real life example I felt of like, oh, this is what that needy energy feels like when she's trying to make me her source. And I'm like, Noah, I'm not your source. I can't give to you. Please respect my boundaries. And so we were on the phone the other day and she wanted to get off. And I was like, no, Noah, don't go. And she's like, please respect my boundaries. I was
Oh,
like, that's something I never learned till I was like 30. I was like,
beautiful.
oh. So yeah, I had to learn a lot of surrender. I learned unconditional love because my ex was like, well, you don't see the kids a lot. And I was like, well, that's technically true. But then I learned like it doesn't take away the love. Like we have all these expectations on relationships, family, like you have to call, or my twin's not texting me. And so my kids really taught me what love was. Like whether I see them or not, they're always happy to see me and they just love me. And I was like, wow, they really just love me for who I am because I exist. So they've been one of my biggest teachers in unconditional love. So I love them so much.
I love it. And also, I feel like it's very clear in both of your stories how, because by doing that, by choosing to surrender them and focusing on yourself, you're actually giving that space, that opportunity for them to actually have a relationship with Source. Because how many mothers out there we see that they're, doing the helicopter thing and whatever. So to your point earlier, Gabi, like they don't even realize that there is actually they do have a source who's infinite and love them. So that's amazing. And the other thing that was very kind of like that's reverberating a lot in me, like through your stories, is that it's beautiful to see you both and your kids and the families like respecting that every relationship is different, kind of like how it is with God.
Yeah.
Like if we literally surrender that comparison and just allow ourselves to have a relationship, intimate, my relationship with God is going to be completely different from yours and from Gabi's, and you know what I mean. We don't have to be like everybody else. I don't have to behave a certain way and see my kids that many hours a week like this. Screw that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I
Yes.
feel like it's very liberating to just allow ourselves to have that relationship, unique, special, and feel special with God. Because even though God has so many children, like He actually is, always there for every single one of us. So I feel like that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing the amazing stories. I'm gonna do a book flip to finish today's date, but I definitely want to have you guys over again because there's so much to talk. Let's see.
Yes.
Let's see what Jeff and Shalia have to tell us. Let's see. Oh, it's how do you know, how will I know when I've met my twin flame part of the book? And it's actually talking about the God's 9 signs you are with your true twin flame. So it says, your twin flame will adore you at the core above all others. I'm going to read your true twin flame will always love you. You will know this when you tune into your heart center. Your twin flame will never abandon you in love and will never truly withdraw their love. They cannot because they are you. Your true twin flame will always genuinely enjoy your company. True twin flames feel comfortable and relaxed in each other's honest and authentic presence. When you meditate deeply within your heart, you can see if the person in question is an exact vibratory match to your soul's blueprint. I love it because it totally matches what we were talking today. So, what did you get from it, Fatima?
What was that? You broke up a little bit.
Yeah, what did you receive from that message today?
Oh, I love my twin so much. I don't know. It just brought back all the memories of when I was trying to figure out like if my twin was my twin. And I was like, you look just like me. I'm like, you act just like me too. And I was like, I think you're my twin. He's like, I don't believe in that stuff. So, but what I really learned from today was surrendering deeper into unconditional love and to come so far in my journey. In the beginning, I really saw my twin as like someone else out there who wants nothing to do with me. And even though all of y'all were like, oh, they're one with you and da da da, that doesn't make sense until you actually heal to the point where you're like, oh, they reflect everything I do. Like for a while there, I was like, my twin obviously hates me because he doesn't talk to me. But then I learned like, oh, his soul is loving me by like what my mom did was try to be source for me, which isn't actually loving me, because then I don't like, yeah, then I'm codependent. Instead, what would be loving is to remove yourself so that person can learn to love themselves. So I was like, oh my God, he really was loving me. And so just learning what real love is. And that is when you give Lisi, she's a master certified ascension coach. She said, when you love yourself, you give yourself God. And when you love others, you give them God too. So that's what I got from today, learning how to unconditionally love ourselves and how that leads to our twin flame, because you're actually one with them. And just all the cool, juicy things I've learned to release attachment and codependency, things I thought were loving, like clinging to my kids or being like, come be with me, twin, and learning how to really relax in myself, get to know myself and love myself for me, not to get something, and how that really attracts everything. I guess what I'm really learning is like, yeah, I'm taken care of. Like God loves me and he's here for me and he's here to provide for me if I just surrender. So yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Love it. You said it perfectly said. What about you, Gabi? Is your
the one that you said that really struck me with the last one, number 9. When you meditate deeply within your heart, you can see if the person in question is an exact vibratory match to your soul's blueprint. And that was something that like I felt really conflicted about, because I had these false twin flame experiences and like all of the things. And my coach actually helped me with a visualization to do that, to bring like the image of whoever it was that I was questioning, to bring that image of them into my heart and watch to see what happened. And we did it with a couple of people just to see what would happen, right? And it was such a powerful visualization for me, because my false twin flame, like when I brought like their image into my heart space, like nothing like closed up. There wasn't like a reactive anything, but it was just kind of like they were loitering there. There was no like opening, there was no recognition, there was no nothing. They were just kind of there, right? And then like this person who I was like questioning about exploring with, like I brought the image of them there, and I swear to God, it was like a castle and a drawbridge. It was like, whoop, nope, like not happening. Like
not here, not now.
No way, no how, you die in the moat. Like that, it was just like, it was not I was like, okay, so hello, clarity. Like, and then, you know, when I brought like the image of my true twin flame into my heart space, it was that beautiful opening, blossoming feeling where like our energies just melted together. And it was just like this deeply like comforting, grounding energy, right? And so like reading back through that just brought up that like very powerful memory of like how that visualization, how that meditation in my heart felt. And I had never like engaged with it in that way before. Obviously, like I've read the book lots of times, but you reading that one again to me was just like, yeah, like it's so powerful when you're able to like feel to that point where you're really able to feel your feelings, so that you have that discernment of like, show me, God, show me what's mine, right? Because he will always. Like, he's like, whatever you're ready for, it's yours. Like, I heard it described once as like Amazon sending packages to your house, right? Like God is just sending all of this abundance to your house, and like you can choose whether to receive it or not. Some of those packages have been sitting on your doorstep for years. Like you're just choosing not to receive them. But like once you're ready to receive that abundance and that love from God, and you fling that door open and start opening the boxes, like it's already yours. It's been there the whole time, right? It's
Yeah.
just about choosing to receive it. So like, you don't have to pray to God for anything. Like, it's sitting on your doorstep. All you got to do is be like, all right, God, I'm ready.
That's so perfect. And I love listening to you talk about it. I got chills all over because this is what we are talking about. This is twin flame love, you know, like you can feel it. There's a certain vibration, the quality of the vibration. And it's funny because this past week, I got kind of like questions that, you know, like, do you think the person that you think is your twin flame is your twin flame? I think it might not. And I'm like, they actually told me to explore somebody else. And I was like, okay, I was listening because I'm the type that, well, if someone is telling me something, there's kind of like something in there. So I was like, okay, let's feel into it. I wasn't really reactive, like, no, because I felt like maybe that would have been, you know, ego's response. No, I know who my twin flame is. So I was like, okay, let me almost like try that shirt on to see how it fits. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I was like, that's how I was able to realize, like, get clarity, because I was like, wait, this feels like, I don't know, nothing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just feels like I'm wearing somebody else's shirt. It's not even my size, and I just put it on because it's here. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's the right color, but you know, like, so what? So then I was like, but it was an interesting experience because that's what it was. And then I felt back into the my true twin flame, and the feeling was totally different. It was like expansive, peaceful, homey, cozy. And I was like, okay, but in a way, it actually helped me too, because it was like, okay, now I explored it, you know, like I tried it on, I'm getting clear, because I feel like that's the one thing that I'm healing to in my journey is, okay, you want harmonious twin flame union, because I've been with my twin flame twice, you know, like physically together. I always say that we had seasons, you know, and then we got separated again. And I'm at a point where, like, now this is, you know, for eternity. I don't want to like half-ass it anymore. So, but I also realized, to your point in the beginning of the session too, is in our podcast, is like, you have to really get to know yourself and who you are, so you can actually match that. Because that's kind of like the takeaway from this message for me. It's like, when you're able to love yourself authentically, unconditionally, and see yourself for the unique, wonderful being that you are, only then you can be in harmonious union. Because if you don't see that, how can you be with a person who's going to be mirroring that to you? You know what I mean? So feel the harmonious twin flame vibe.
And if I could add one thing to that, because
Yeah,
I had a
sure.
journey, and I'm sure a lot of people will ask this, because a big question is like, how do I know if my twin's my twin? I have to find a psychic, and the psychic will tell me. Well,
Yeah.
I forgot that I was psychic until I met my twin, and then, you know, they open up so many gifts for you and stuff like that. So yeah, like, I instantly recognized my twin. God audibly told me, like, 2 days after meeting him, he's like, this is your twin flame. I was like, oh, that's cool. But it still like didn't give me that clarity, because I was like, well, I don't know, because he's not showing up for me. Is this other person my twin? And what I really had to do was love myself. Even though I consciously knew who my twin was, I loved him. I worship the ground he walks on. My twin is so amazing to me. I love him so much, but I still had to heal to the point where I had to love myself to really feel secure in like who this person was, because that's what they'll reflect back to you. So when I first met my twin, we were both all in ego. And so he was like, I was like, this isn't like, you're not doing it right. Like, this is not who you are. And I'm like, why are you being like this? And so then I had to focus on myself, like, oh, I'm not showing up as my true self. So I had to fall back with God and just focus on, okay, God, like, who am I? And also being able to receive the love. I couldn't receive my twin because I've only known abuse. So, like, what would I do if this man showed up loving me? I'd probably start convulsing. I'd be like, what are you doing? So it is what Jeff and Shalia taught me was, it's a revealing process getting to know your twin. And I was like, no, it's not, because I instantly recognized him. I know you're my twin, so let's be together. But no, I didn't see him as my mirror. I didn't see any of the reflection things until I got deeper into loving myself and really healing these blocks that I felt and saw that reflected in him. So I was like, oh, it really is a journey within. Like, they're not kidding. Like, I thought Jeff was just saying that to say say like some cool hippie shit, like it's a journey within. I was like, shut up, Jeff, I want to be with my twin. And he's like, you had to be with yourself. And I was like, what does that mean? And so like letting go of like trying to be pretty, trying to get people's attention, trying to have other people to like me and really like me for myself was when I could reveal and like accept and go like feel safe in my twin flame union, because it is really union with yourself and God. Like it's a oneness. So it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, thought that was pretty cool.
I love it. I'm feeling the love in the air.
Aw, yeah, me too.
Thank you so much, Gabi and Fatima, for being here today. It's been amazing. I love hanging out with you. We definitely have to arrange to meet in person again sometime soon. But if not, hopefully you'll come to my podcast again. And before I go, I just want to show the shirt from Etheria Mundo Twin Flame t-shirt.
Yeah, Manny.
Hey.
This is created by one of our Twin Flame friends from the community. I'm gonna drop the links there if you want to buy them. And thank you again. I'm also gonna Gabi is an Ascension coach too, so if you want coaching services, you can definitely look her up. And Fatima, you have some cool services again. Let us know what people can call you for. What are you offering?
Yeah, so right now I'm just a boring old photographer, but I do makeup and photo shoots for women to help them look and feel like celebrities, fall in love with who you are, and live your best life, just like a get dolled up day, and to see yourself as like the divine being that you are and really celebrate yourself and your beauty. So I do photo shoots here out in Charlotte, but one day I will be in coach land, and I can't wait to coach with you guys, because
yeah, and
like,
one day I want
awesome.
you to come to Boston to do some photos for me. I have like there's so many cool places, like I already have the vision. So
Yeah,
hopefully soon.
and you're stunning. I would love to.
We're mirrors, you're mirrors. And join us in the
Oh,
community, follow us, let's chat, let's keep the conversation going. Thank you so much, and bye for now.
yes, bye.